Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. Um, when the president of the chapter reached out to me and said that it was important for us to have another session, given the current realities, I readily accepted because I had the privilege to be with the chapter earlier this year, precisely on the 20th of January this year. And I shared my thoughts with regard to the 2020 outlook. But you know that they say that man proposes and ultimately God disposes. God knows the beginning from the end and the end from the beginning. So when we sat down in January, on the 20th of January, and we were reviewing the 2020 outlook, nobody knew when we sat down about 90 days ago to look at the outlook for 2020. Nobody saw a COVID-19 coming. COVID-19 had landed all over the world, and suddenly the budgets of every single country in the surface of this earth, their budgets have been shattered to pieces. The Nigerian budget does not make any sense anymore because all of the assumptions that was driving that budget, all of those assumptions, almost in the twinkling of an eye, those assumptions have totally and fundamentally changed. So I think it is important for us to look at the global economy, to look at the Nigerian economy, look at how it is impacting on those of us in Nigeria, either as business people, entrepreneurs, or whether we're indeed paid employment. The impact of COVID-19 is affecting every single person across every sphere of human existence. Then after that, I would like to share some of my own thoughts and my own ideas on what we can do, that in spite of all of the challenges, in spite of all the difficulties, God, the Bible says that God always makes a way of escape. So there is still a great opportunity that God has presented to us, even in the midst of all of these challenges and in the midst of all the fear that is pervading the land. So I will just dive into my presentation. Like I said earlier, I will look at some of the things we discussed in January and try and amend it to reflect current realities. Now, the global economy, as you very well know, the global economy is in a state of turmoil. The world economy is in recession. As I speak to you today, the world economy is in recession. All the countries of the world that used to grow very, very fast, for example, China used to grow at an average rate of about 7 or 8% over the last 5 years. Today, China is witnessing negative growth. The United States of America, the leading economy in the whole world, they are technically in a recession today. All over Europe, all over North America, all over South America, even in Africa, all the economies of the world are struggling at the moment. And there are 2 or 3 or 4 things that we have to deal with as a global economy. Number one, in terms of demand and in terms of supply. Now, the Nigerian economy, if I use that as an example, we are an import-dependent nation. So we have significant demand for imported items. But today, Nigeria is unable to receive all of those items simply because the countries that used to export to us, suddenly those countries are no longer exporting. The entire global economy is almost at a standstill. Countries are looking inwards and trying to resolve their own problems internally before they can even consider other countries of the world. So you will see that within Europe, they are competing amongst themselves. In North America, Canada, United States is competing against Canada. They are hijacking supplies, medical supplies coming out of China. They are hijacking it from the Canadians. They are hijacking it from the Europeans. So we have entered into a new world order where the whole supply chain mechanism is now in trouble. China used to be referred to as the workshop or the factory, the manufacturing base of the entire world. Look at the scenarios we have today with regards to COVID-19. We are looking for face masks. Who is the greatest manufacturer of face masks? It is China. We're looking for personal protective equipment for our doctors and nurses and medical personnel, even our citizens. We cannot find any more because China, the manufacturer of the world, has suddenly shut down. So we are in a situation where the global economy is in a recession. Supply chains have been affected. Countries' economies have become very, very vulnerable. Unemployment in the United States is at the highest level that they have seen in generations. There are more than 23 million Americans that are unemployed today. 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, that number used to hover between 2.5 and 3 million. That number has increased 7 times within the last 3 months. And you will see that similar things are happening in different parts of the world. So that is our new recovery. Now, what is the outlook for the global economy? The different people are coming up with different postulations. There is a global consultancy firm called McKinsey. McKinsey last month came out with 3 scenarios. The scenario number 1 is that we will quickly find a solution to COVID-19 and there will be a quick recovery in the global economy. So that's one scenario. Scenario number 2, that there will be a global slowdown, that maybe we may struggle in the first quarter, January to March, but in the second quarter, April to June, maybe things will turn around a little bit. So even though there is a slowdown, it is still not quite a recession. Scenario number 3 is that everything will pretty much shut down. The global economy will grind into a major recession, and for the rest of 2020, it will not be able to recover. My brothers and sisters, unfortunately, based on the facts that are on the table today, it appears that the recession that we have entered into as a global economy is not something that will change or turn around very, very quickly, except God himself decides to turn it around. But if you look purely at the fundamentals on the ground, it will take a while for it to recover. What are the major drivers of global economy? Oil. Oil is a major driver of the global economy. But today, the price of oil, crude, which is a variant of Nigeria's, which is the benchmark for Nigeria's crude oil, is selling at below $20 a barrel. In the United States, their oil prices has gone into negative territory, which means that the sellers of oil have to give people money to take the oil off them. Have you ever heard of such a scenario? It has never happened before in the history of mankind that we will get to a level where we have an oversupply of crude oil and there is nobody to buy. All the storage tanks all over the world are filling up. So that is why the owners of oil, not only are they selling it at a discount, in the United States now, they are giving the buyer some extra money to take the oil off them. This is just a sign of how fundamentally the world as we know it has changed. So they talk now about a new normal. They talk about a new economy and a new world. And I think that in the middle of all of this, as Christians, we must always look that inside all this, there has to be a divine plan, because nothing catches God unawares, which means that God is fully aware that this time and this season was going to come. And I believe that it is an opportunity for a rebirth for not just Nigeria, not just Africa, but even the entire world as a whole. It is time for us to take a look at ourselves and try and come up with a new way of doing things. So that is a brief outline of the global economy. Let us bring our conversation home now, and let us start to look at things that will affect you and I directly now. If you look at the Nigerian economy, they said the government said to us that last year, in the year 2019, that our economy grew by 2.5%. Now, it is the measurement of economic growth is something called the gross domestic product. And what it simply measures is what is the naira value of all the economic activity that takes place in Nigeria. Then how do you compare the performance from one year versus the performance of another year? So if you compare 2018 to 2019, our economy grew by 2.5% between 2018 and 2019. Now, on paper, it's on the surface of it, it sounds like a decent number, but the number becomes not so fantastic when you remember that our population is growing at a rate of 2.6%. So it means that we are manufacturing more people in Nigeria than the level of our economic activity. And that is one of the reasons why poverty remains as high as it is. They say that Nigeria, our own Nigeria, has become the poverty capital of the world, where more than 90 million people are below the poverty line. Now, that was the position as at December 2019. My brothers and my sisters, unfortunately, because of the realities on the ground, several things have happened to conspire to almost totally destroy the Nigerian economy. Number one is the COVID-19 factor, which has affected supply chain, which has affected the demand for our crude oil. So right now, we are literally begging people to collect our crude oil. We are offering our crude oil at a discount. The latest price we are offering our crude oil now is about $14 a barrel. This is a barrel of oil that cost us between $25 and $30 to manufacture. That is what the general group managing director of NNPC told us, that it cost Nigeria on the average about $30 to manufacture, to extract 1 barrel of crude oil. So if it costs you $30 to extract it and to produce it, and you are selling it for $15 or $14, it means you are making a loss of $14 or $15 on every single barrel of oil. So you see part of where our challenges as a nation has come from. So our principal revenue generator, crude oil, is already selling at a loss. Right? So that is the biggest problem. The second biggest problem is that as a result of coronavirus, you have a situation where our healthcare services that for a long time we have, as a nation, we have failed to invest in. Those services are being threatened to be totally overwhelmed. Even the Western world, where they invest significantly in healthcare, their healthcare system cannot handle the avalanche of people who are falling sick. So we can only start to imagine the kind of challenge that will happen if we start to witness those kind of figures in Nigeria. But fortunately, Nigeria somehow seems to have a special place in God's heart. God has always somehow bailed us out every time we get so close to the edge. And my own prayer is that this time will not be an exception. That the same God that has bailed us out in the past, that he will arise for Nigeria, he will arise for Africa, and bail us out yet again, because we need that bailout. So number one, our economy is not growing. It is not. Yeah, thank you. I like that. Amen. Our economy is not growing, and it is not growing because the principal source of our revenue, crude oil, the prices have crashed. So there are certain lessons for us. We have always been talking for many years about the need to diversify our economy. If we do not diversify the economy now, and if we do not learn the lessons of this season, then it means that we really and truly are unfortunate with the kind of leaders that we have. So my prayer really is that we will take advantage of this very, very difficult situation for us to turn around our circumstances. Now, what are the other economic indicators that we looked at in January? Inflation is going up every single day. Why is it going up every single day? It is because our currency, our national currency, the naira, it has, number one, been devalued from the official rate of 360. The official rate now is 385 or thereabouts, right? It is very, very likely that even that 385 official rate, it is not sustainable. Unfortunately, in the black market, they say that dollar is naira to the dollar is selling at 420 thereabouts. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is very, very likely that we are going to see an even deeper devaluation. When I spoke to the chapter in January, I told them to prepare for devaluation. I told the people who were there, as much as possible, if you can convert some of your naira assets into dollars, that it was imperative that we started doing it. I really hope and pray that a number of people took that advice and were able to transform some of their naira denominated assets into dollars. If you have not done that, then you are going to feel the heat, because we're still an import dependent nation. And if our naira devalues to 420 or something like that, then it means that the cost of things coming into Nigeria, the cost of food, the cost
very much for this wonderful presentation, sir. I just have one question to ask. You actually talk about recommendation, and you said to remind you about those recommendations when at the end of the. Although you mentioned a few things when you were talking about the reality check, but if you actually have those recommendations, I'd like you to pass them on. But if not,
Yes.
if it's part of these things that you've mentioned, okay, I got a few. But if you do have those recommendations, please, you can let's have them, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Like you rightly said, I mentioned some of them in the course of my presentation, but I will just do a quick summary of some of the critical items there. And I'm talking to two categories of people. I'm talking to I'm talking to entrepreneurs, business people, but I'm also talking individuals. So for the entrepreneurs, those who are running their own businesses, I have said, look for ways of enhancing the technology content of what you do. Look for ways of increasing your presence online, and look for ways of exploring possibilities in the e-commerce space, number one. Number two, look for ways of achieving operational and cost efficiency, which means that consider some of your staff working from home to reduce your operating costs. So they are not burning diesel as much. You are not burning generator as much. Think about possibilities around flexible working hours and remote working. Number three, it is possible that given current realities, you may have to take a review and look at your staffing. There might be some people that you've been carrying along, and unfortunately, are not really adding major value to your business. This may be time to consider separating yourself from those people. But the few people or the people who are totally committed to your business, this is the time to engage with them and reassure them, right, that they have a future in your organization and you will support them to the best of your abilities. So some of the people who are not adding value, whatever cost savings you will get from separating you from those the people who are working hard, particularly in this season. I'm advocating that you look at your cost structure. You may not be able to pay 100% to everybody. You may pay part of it, and the other part of it, if the liquidity is there, it can come in the way of a salary advance or something like that. Number three, I think it is also important to look beyond Nigeria. I gave an example of the banking industry that is doing well. And I said for most of the tier one banks that are doing well, part of the secret of their success is they are well diversified across multiple geographical boundaries. If you look at even our friend Aliko Dangote, Aliko is in about 12 or 13 African countries because suddenly he realized that everything he does is centered in Nigeria. If Nigeria gets into trouble, then his business is in very serious trouble. So you may not be able to physically expand into other countries, but you may be able to invest, and I think that this is the time for you to start looking for strategic partners all over Africa. There might be somebody in Kenya who's looking for a partner in Nigeria, and you in Nigeria, you are looking for a partner in Kenya. Both of you can have a conversation, and suddenly both of you will have presence in two different countries. Then finally, for the individuals, if you are able to generate some liquidity, and one of the ways you can generate your liquidity is by saving. So I said from today, even in the middle of COVID, if you have any spare 1 naira, 5 naira, 10 naira, 1,000 naira, start setting it aside. As soon as that money builds up to a significant amount, I will advise you to invest it. Invest it in something that I call a mutual fund. So talk to an asset management company in Nigeria, engage with any of the top 10 or top 20 firms and say, I want to invest. Tell me what kind of products you have as an asset manager. I will also encourage everybody invest in dollar-denominated instruments. So you will find out that a lot of these fund managers, they have dollar instruments. So if you invest in a dollar instrument, a Euro bond fund or a dollar fund, and unfortunately the Naira devalues significantly, you are protected. So this is what I told people in January. And I told them that personally, from 2019, I have been converting a lot of assets into dollars and making dollar investments. So unfortunately, this situation has come now, but it has protected me to some extent because I have diversified across the Naira. So I think those are the things I would like to advise, and those will be my recommendations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rutibi. Hello. Hello.
Hello? Yeah, we can.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I would like us to put our questions down. I don't know how many of us have questions. Please go to the chat room. I've seen a few comments there. And then let's know how many people so that we can take those questions. But while that is being done, I want to quickly spend a few minutes to share one or two things with us, and then we'll come back to take all the questions. Hello?
Yeah.
Are we together?
Yes.
Go ahead,
okay, so please, if you have questions and comments, please put it down on the chat room so that because I don't know if we can take everybody at one time together. But let me quickly reiterate that this program is being put together by the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, Ikeja Central Business District Eminent Persons Chapter. That chapter meets once every month, at least once every month physically. And I want to assure you that we'll also be meeting also online once every month. And we share topical issues like this for business people, businessmen and women. So it's not just a fellowship of men only, it's a fellowship of businessmen and women. And it's made up of professionals, both in paid employment and also entrepreneurs. But our major focus, our vision is basically to bring men of all nations back to Jesus Christ. We're a faith-based fellowship, and it's based out of a vision that God gave a man called Amos Zachariah in 1952. 1952 is a long time, and Amos, that vision today is in 160 countries all over the world, and we have chapters, over 5,000 chapters spread all over different nations of the world. And so we want to encourage you. You can be part of us if you are not yet a member of the Full Gospel. We have chapters everywhere. In any major hotel, in any city in the world, you will find a Full Gospel chapter there. And so we want to encourage you to be a part of what we're doing. We're not, it's interdenominational, it's not a church. And so we have professionals there who also interface with other professionals. So it's not about, I'm a member of a Catholic or I'm a member of one denomination. No, it's interdenominational. And so it provides an opportunity for Christian fellowship. We also have trainings. We equip men for the Great Commission. And also, basically, we have a greater unity amongst the people of the body of Christ. And we're able to reach out and to win souls and to bring men back to God. There's a great harvest that is coming in these end times. And this is a vehicle that God has prepared for that great harvest. We not only have outreaches within the city, we also have what we call airlifts, because we now go to other nations, both in Africa and beyond. In actual fact, last year we were in the US to start chapters of the Full Gospel from Nigeria here. So we have in all the nations of Africa, we have been going to East and Southern Africa to start chapters of the Full Gospel. So we want to invite you to be part of us. If you are not a member of the Full Gospel yet, we would like to give you an opportunity to be a member. There are basically 3 criteria. Number 1, you must be born again. You must be a child of God. And we'll give opportunity for those who want to do that. Number 2, you must believe in the baptism in the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And so we want to say to you that you must desire to know to have the baptism of the Holy Spirit. Would also give an opportunity for those who would like to do that. The Full Gospel gives you an opportunity to do that. And then number 3, you must be gainfully employed. And not only that, you must fill our form. You must indicate your membership interest, and then we will reach out to you, and then we will be able to interface with you, and then we admit you into the membership of Full Gospel. Full Gospel is not, how would I put it? It's not a very, or it's a very expensive, let me put it the other way. It's a very expensive organization to join. How do I mean? It's only 1,000 naira that is paid as due for the entire year. I mean, I believe there is no other fellowship organization in the world where you pay that amount. Only 1,000 for every man for the entire year, and then for the ladies of the fellowship, for the women, it's only 500 naira for the entire year. That's all. So it's not about the money, really. It's just for you to indicate, So every year we pay that amount, except those who are life members. Life members pay 10,000, and that is it for life. But once you are a member of the Full Gospel in Nigeria, you are a member of Full Gospel all over the world. Anywhere you go all over the world, you are a recognized, registered member of Full Gospel. So for those who want to be a part of us, please, there's a link, I'm sure, that will be displayed on the chat group. Please go there and please give us your details. We will reach out to you. We'll surely reach out to you. Or after the meeting, you can also reach out to the names that were on the flyer. Let us know. Let us reach out to you. Now, finally, the Full Gospel is not funded by any church or funded by, we don't have any subvention internationally or locally. It is funded by members, just you and I. Those of us who are here, we fund all our programs by ourselves, even the airlift for other nations of the world. We funded last year. There was an airlift, that was led by the Nollywood actor Charles Okafor to Tanzania and some of the South African countries. And those guys and souls were won. Why? Because they have been watching Nollywood movies. So when they saw Charles Okafor, Nigerian Nollywood star, the whole place was packed. Even the president and everyone was there. And it was a massive move of the Holy Ghost. So we believe that God has positioned the Full Gospel to reach out and to win souls. So if you want to give opportunity, we'll display also our fellowship account. To those who would like to sow a seed, please send me your seed to the account. I'm sure it's been displayed, and we believe that God will bless you. So I'd like us to take some of the questions tonight. So for those who have questions, let us know. I can see one here. If I can go to the question and answer session, Mr. Rutimi, I hope you're prepared. There's a question here.
Yes.
It says that revolves around one of your submissions in the January presentation. It said, is it okay to keep money in the bank under the current dispensation? I remember you canceled against that in your January presentation. So someone says, is it okay? I'll take a few and then you will answer. Is it okay to keep money in the bank in the current presentation, dispensation? There's another one here. It says, since everyone is shutting their doors and China, who is the manufacturing hub for the world, couldn't reach anyone, isn't it the best time for our government and everyone to focus on producing our basic needs?
Okay.
Let me see if I can get one more. It says, this is from, it says, sir, what do you think about supply chain and logistic business in this period? Is there any support or funding for people in this kind of business and for people in service business? Did you get that, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Yes, supply chain, that talks about supply chain. Let me look at for one. How can one get a certified asset manager?
Okay.
Okay, let me see one more and then we'll take a break. Okay, go ahead, answer, then I'll take other people. You can answer those ones, I'll take more.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Thank you very much for the questions. The very first question is should one still keep money in the bank today? The answer I gave in January is still the same answer I will give today. Ladies and gentlemen, inflation in Nigeria now is heading towards 13%. There is no bank in Nigeria today that will give you up to 10%, up to 5% on your deposits. It means that if you put money in a bank today with inflation at 13%, the value of that money is being increased by the day. The time you withdraw your money from that bank, you buy it and go to the day you made the deposit. You should only invest something that will give you a return that is in excess of inflation. So if inflation is 13% today, you must now be saying, what are the investment opportunities that can give me in excess of 13%? And I think that is what you need to look at. I will dive quickly into the asset management question, then I will come back to the others because I want to link it to this submission. Now, if you open an asset management account, so you go to a fund manager, and I will ask you to go online and to do your research. Research for the top 10 or the top 5 or the top 20 asset management companies in Nigeria. Make sure that they are registered and licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria. So any firm you are dealing with, they must be duly licensed by the regulator. So that will ensure that you're dealing with credible people, and if there is any issue down the line, you know who you can report them to. So do your online research. Quite a number of Nigerian banks have asset management subsidiaries. So when you are looking for an asset management company, that can be one of the criteria that you use to identify them. Some others are independent. They are not related to any bank, but they've been around for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So look for a company that has a verifiable track record. They are the kind of people that can help you develop a portfolio that will give you a return that will be in excess of inflation. I have been using various asset management firms for many years. A lot of the foreign currency denominated investments I made last year, and even I made recently this year, was done through a leading asset management firm in Nigeria. So I will always think that you consider doing that rather than keeping your money in a commercial bank. There was a question around, given the fact that the whole economy, the whole world is shutting, supply chain is being disrupted. What are the opportunities to go now? Two key words here, ladies and gentlemen: import substitution. So when you are also thinking about areas to invest in, areas to partner with somebody to do this in, areas where local substitutes can be made. For us, ladies and gentlemen, God has been so kind, so merciful to Nigeria. One of the largest, deepest, widest resource base of any country that I know in the world. You get, so we have significant natural resources that God has provided, and there is no reason for us to be importing things that we can manufacture comfortably in Nigeria, and we can also sell profitably in Nigeria. So if you've been listening to the CBN governor, of a lot of his agenda for the remaining 3 or 4 years of his tenure as governor is to expand the subsidy available for any business that will reduce the import of the Nigerian economy. Because now that there is a devaluation of Naira and a further devaluation is expected, now that our foreign reserves are declining rapidly, we don't have money to be funding imported things that we can make locally. So I will advise you to do the research. Somebody asked the question about supply chain and logistics. That is one of the businesses that will do well in this season, because a lot of businesses have to change the way they do their business. So the whole e-commerce world and the online trading activity that will increase, particularly in this post-COVID era, those businesses will require reliable logistics companies. So we wanted to buy some things online recently, and my wife and I were struggling to find credible courier companies. Every one of them that we called, they said that their riders are all over the place working, and they could not attend to us for another 5 or 6 hours. So it means that there is demand for this service, but the supply is limited. So if you are operating in the supply chain or logistics space, supply chain driving import substitution, or logistics to help the people who want to sell their products and services get it to the people who want to buy it, then I think it is definitely a good idea and something for you. But don't enter blindly. Do your research, prepare a small business plan, and I assure you funding is available. Like I said earlier, the Central Bank of Nigeria is going to channel a lot of funds through the existing commercial banks. The Bank of Industry has a lot of money. The Development Bank of Nigeria has a lot of money. And these monies are all single-digit interest rates. between 5% and 9%. So I think I encourage everybody to start looking for opportunities in those areas. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
so let me ask a question, Mr. Baruti, sir.
Yes,
Go ahead,
please.
Remy.
All right. So in a case where the government is not spending money and you're asking us to also keep something safe, how would there be money in the society to spend, to buy from us? So
Right.
if the government is not
Well,
spending, human beings, citizens are also keeping, where is the money to spend around?
yes.
I hope you understand me. Thank you.
Right. Indeed.
Okay, can we
Okay,
take
great.
any other person?
Are there other questions?
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry,
Hello.
can I just quickly come in?
Sorry,
Hello?
I want to ask again. Especially
Yes.
in the educational sector, when you were talking, you mentioned a couple of things, particularly that education is going digital now, digitalization of education, and then you talked about getting
Yes.
support from other countries that for people who might have proprietary solutions that one can partner and work with. Presently,
Yes.
sir, if like you rightly mentioned, if you look at everything now, the government has even I heard the news today that the government has decided that schools will resume sometime in November. So between now and that time, there's going
Right.
to be a whole lot of probably a whole lot of online work for students. I want to ask, are you with me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
September, or it's still open.
I want to ask, sir, are there for someone who is totally new to that line of business, what do you suggest that someone who wants to go into something like that, what do you think the person should do basically? Because at some point you need to write a business plan, and then you need to talk
That is
to
English.
talk to
Okay.
you finance people, you know, to help you guide, and then show
Yeah,
you.
this is
So
English.
can you shed some
All
light
right.
on
Th-
some
th-
insight into that?
Thank you very much.
Please, can
Can
I
I
add
take
something?
another question?
Can I have it?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes. Please carry on, sir.
Okay, so what I want to add to it is this. So I represent an organization called the Nigerian Diaspora Direct Investment Summit. And
Okay.
our mission is to mobilize the diaspora to invest in Nigeria. One of the ways we want to achieve that is to create partnerships between Nigerians who are in the diaspora and Nigerians who are back home. So a
Yes.
couple of years back, we organized a partnership investment summit in partnership with the Bank of Industry. And then they brought in a few businesses, a few businessmen, and we managed to make one or two connections, business partnerships. So I also wanted to look at how you think one of our summits also, about 5 years ago, we brought in Shell, and then Shell showed us some of the opportunities that they have in the oil sector, which the local contractors were unable to access because of low capacity. And we managed to get them, some of our oil experts, to partner with local contractors. So I want you to look at also, as part of your answering some of these questions, how you see the role of partnership, particularly from people who are coming from diaspora. They are coming to Nigeria on a blind in the sense that many of them I personally have I have some terrible stories to tell. So many of them have tried to invest back in Nigeria, things have happened and all that. How you see that partnership going forward? Because people in the diaspora may have technology, they may have funding, have access to even bigger partners. But the problem they always have is getting the right kind of partners in Nigeria who are trustworthy, that you can collaborate with to expand on your business.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think
I also have a question.
Okay.
Can I quickly go ahead?
Okay, please, can you introduce yourself before you ask your
Yeah,
question?
my name is Yomi. My name is Yomi. Hello.
Okay. All right, carry on.
Yeah, a few years back, I engaged in a program, in a platform that I eventually made live. It was actually meant for schools, for organizations, for businesses, to have a forum where they can address, where they can come together, just like the churches are having challenges now, schools are having challenges now. It's a social platform that they can engage their members, preach the word, do businesses. They have a designated page for themselves and everybody that concerns them. I couldn't go ahead with it. I didn't know coronavirus was going to come. I didn't know we'll be restricted to move around. But I had challenges about, I was able to get somebody to do the programming. I ran it live. I brought some schools on it. They can access their students, their results, their resources. I got some resources for the schools and students. But the challenge I had was I'm not a programming person. I'm not a computer programmer. So I had challenge in programming, coding. So my question is, how can I get a partner outside Nigeria, if possible, so that I can bring some of my ideas into fusion in this area? I've registered the website itself. The name is registered. It's just to bring this on board and let it work in the tech arena.
All right. Thank you very much. I mean, okay. So I think I have about 4 or 5 questions. So I'd like to run through them very quickly. The first question was about the stock market. Somebody says that since the market is closed, how are they able to access investments in mobile networks, the GSM companies? First and foremost, the market is not closed. The Nigerian stock exchange is fully digitalized. So brokers are able to trade remotely. So if you ask your stockbroker to that you want to buy shares in MTN or HL, they will be able to action that particular request. So the stock market is open. Remote trading is going on. The good thing about this season is that because there is a global economic downturn that has also impacted Nigeria too. A lot of the prices you will see on the stock market, a lot of prices have reduced. So a lot of good companies are trading well below their fair value. You know, so you might actually be buying some of these companies at a discounted value. So, but I will also advise you that when you are investing in stocks, always go in there with a long-term mindset. So if you are buying for 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, then this is you. But if you want to invest over the long term, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, then the stock market is placed for long-term investment, because it is only over that kind of period that you will truly realize the benefits of that investment. So if you are looking for short-term, go to your asset manager, tell them to give you a short-term focused portfolio. But if you are focused by all means, you can go to the stock market. And the question from Remy, government is not spending, businesses are facing really and truly to see how do you when your own disposable income or revenues has reduced significantly. You know, my view around savings and investment is this. You know, it is really a function of commitment. It is really a function of discipline. You know, for me to get to a stage where I was able to save and invest, it was a very difficult thing, because my disposition is to spend how much money I have, I can blow through it very, very quickly. So it is a personal conviction. So I'm not saying wait for one big money, and that is usually the thing. You see, it is a mindset and it is a discipline. So if you start with something very, very small, let's assume 1,000 naira or 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira, whatever is totally insignificant to you, go through the motions of consistently setting that sum aside. what you will find out is that you then build a habit of savings, and it becomes easier for you to gradually amount than around 1,000. 6 months' time, in 1 year's time, you may have built this thing to a level where you have increased your savings capacity to 10,000 or 50,000 or 100,000. So what I would say is this: there will never be a convenient time to save. Because every naira that you have, there are multiple things you can do with that money. So it takes a lot of conviction and it takes a lot of capacity for you to be able to set something around. Number two, government is a major spender. Government is a major part of any economy. But Remy, I have spent the last 3 years or 4 years, and I advise you to do the same. Go and look at government spending, the budget of the federal government of Nigeria as a proportion of the total economic activity in Nigeria measured by GDP. Government budget has always been less than 10% of GDP, which means that 90% of the economic activity is going on outside of government direct spending. So whilst I agree that government is a major catalyst, government is the policy direction giver, and government is the one that should create the enabling environment, I also believe there is a larger market, particularly the informal market, that is more significant in terms of volume than the formal market where government plays. So I am not trying to downplay the impact of government, but I say that there is a larger economy outside of government. So you can still run your business to a large extent, working with private sector funds. Somebody asked a question about. You're welcome, sir. Somebody asked a question about education or an offshore proprietary technology. Yomi came up with a question around something that he has seeking partnership. Fortunately for all of us, we heard the second to the last speaker mention that he is part of an organization that is based offshore, but are looking for credible partners locally so that they can support in the area of technology transfer, in the area of funding, in the area of synergies. Now, my advice to both sides of the divide is this: for any partnership, the most important thing that you must do is to carry out due diligence. So even if the partnership contract is a marriage, for those who are married that are listening to me, I am sure you did some due diligence on your spouse before you decided to get married. So I would say, for the offshore counterparties who are looking for credible Nigerian people to do business with, do your due diligence about the person. Let the person submit their profile and their track record. Ensure that they have a verifiable track record. Ask 3, 4, 5 different people about them. Let them submit references of people that they have engaged with and have provided services for. You do your independent due diligence. Fortunately, as big as Nigeria is, it is also a small community. Before you ask 5 people about somebody, you will find one person that knows the person, and they will be able to give you an objective feedback. Beyond that, it is also good when you are dealing with certain counterparties, if they are operating in an environment that requires license or registration or oversight by government. Ensure that they are duly recognized. So if you are abroad and you want to invest and you are looking for a fund manager, I mentioned earlier, only deal with a fund manager that has a license from the Securities and Exchange Commission Nigeria. Just like if you are dealing with a financial institution or a finance house, you look for a finance house that has a CBN license, such that if they misbehave, you can write a petition to CBN so that CBN can investigate the matter and take action. So for both sides, the Nigerian looking for an offshore partner and the offshore, our diaspora brothers and sisters who are looking to contribute and invest in Nigeria, the watchword is due diligence for both of you. Do the due diligence and before you enter into any partnership, number one. Number two, enter into a legally enforceable contract such that you are not relying on the good nature of the counterparty. There must be a binding legal contract that is enforceable, right? Before you go into any kind of alliance or any kind of partnership. But I think that it is definitely something to do. We can benefit from our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, particularly now, because they have access to technology, they have access to funding, and we have very, very bright, forward-looking people in Nigeria, and it will be useful for that partnership to kick in, particularly in this season. It is very, very important. So I think I have run through all of my questions. So
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have two more questions before we try and bring this to a close. There's a question here that says that you mentioned agribusiness as one sector that will thrive going forward. How much hope can you see for smallholder farmers?
Okay.
And then there's another one here that says, please, can you recommend one or two trusted companies into agro crowdfunding? That's from Mr. Shegun.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. All right. Thank you. So the first question, the answer to the second question is largely going to deal with a significant piece of the first question. The first question, I thoroughly believe that agribusiness in the processing space. You see, there is no shortage of primary production in Nigeria. You know, I mentioned earlier that we have a client who's working specifically in the cassava processing space. We did research on cassava. Nigeria is the largest primary producer of cassava in the whole world. But unfortunately, we are not in the top 20 when it comes to processors of cassava. Cassava is one of the most versed that God has created. It has more than 10 viable commercial byproducts. And for almost every other cash crop in Nigeria, it is the same story. For almost every natural resource, even in the solid mineral space that God has provided, they have multiple byproducts. So agro processing is the way to go, because primary production, we're doing very well. We are in the top 10 for cashew. We're in the top 10 for shea butter. We are number 1 for cassava. We rank top 10 in a lot of the cash crops. But what we are missing is the processing capacity. So I believe that is where the opportunity lies. But there are some challenges. How do you get the harvest from the farm to the processing plant? So in deciding where you are going to situate your processing plant, you must bear that challenge into consideration. You know, access to power and so on and so forth. So I think agro processing as it is not something that anybody should rush into blindly. You have to do your due diligence. You have to situate it properly. So nearness to the source of raw material as well as nearness to your market is a balancing act. So as government is investing in infrastructure, start to think about it. Government is assuring us that this year, Lagos-Ibadan railway line will be sorted out. Imagine if Lagos-Ibadan expressway is sorted out. Inside Oyo is a major cashew belt. So imagine if you are a cashew processor and you can situate your process plant somewhere in Oyo State and you process it in Oyo and you put it onto a cargo train that will bring it to the ports in Apapa, and suddenly you can move your goods outside Nigeria for exports and all of that. You know, so it is important to bear all of the linkages and also recognize the infrastructural challenges we face in deciding, first of all, what sector to enter, and when you choose the sector, where to situate it. Always look at the global picture. Second question was around crowdfunding for agribusiness. Now, let me just say a little bit about this. I mentioned earlier that there are various platforms. If you are living in Lagos and you don't have the capacity to run a farm of your own, but you believe that agriculture is a viable investment opportunity, then you can invest through these people they call crowdfunders. What they aggregate monies from a large number of people. So let's assume 1,000 people all contribute 10,000 naira. Then suddenly this entity has 10 million naira available that they can invest in the agriculture space. So they take that 10 million naira, they use it to support the smallholder farmer. That the first person asked, the first question I had this. They give that smallholder inputs. They give them fertilizer and pesticides. They send agricultural extension workers to their farm so that they can teach them on best practices. They introduce some level of mechanization. And guess what? For some of these people, they actually have an right on naira, and God forbid something happens, the farm catches fire, your 10,000 naira has been fully insured and you will get 2,000 back. The only thing that you are risking is the return on investment that they have promised you. Maybe they promised you a return of 16%. If the farm catches fire, you can't get your 16%, but at least your principal sum of 10,000 naira is a return intact. I'll mention one or two names. I typically try to avoid mentioning names, but because there are only a handful of players in this space. The first one, and I think they are the first player in this space, they are called Farm Crowdy. Yeah, FARM CROWDY. And Google Farm Crowdy, the way the Google algorithm will work, it will also, the next time you search for it, it will also throw up the names of other people. Or you can even do a simple Google say agricultural crowdfunding platforms in Nigeria, and you will see a list. I think there are about 3 or 4 or 5. Unfortunately, I cannot remember the other names apart from Farm Crowdy. Farm Crowdy was the first, and they are the ones that I know for certain that they have an insurance policy. I suspect the other entrants too would have adopted the same model, and that allows you to invest with a little bit of the assurance that at least your principal is safe, come what may. So I recommend that for people who cannot enter into primary production by themselves but want to invest in agriculture. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Arutimi. I think we should try and bring this to a close, but I have one last question here that says, kindly advise on the prospects of online Forex business or prospects in online Forex business. But before you take that question, sir, I want to advise our participants, please, if you have not registered, please go ahead, the link and register so that we can send you the recorded, we have this recorded, and then we also have the material that is shared with us before. And whatever new material that is going to give to us, we can share with you. So please, if you haven't registered, please go ahead and ensure that you register yourself. Then, Mr. Biola Yeni, I hope you are still on. You are still on. The National Director of Food Gospel. If you are on.
Yeah, I just want to add, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time. And for the man that asked for that asked for coding, I would advise that we have very good source back home in Nigeria. So don't wait till you get somebody abroad. There are young guys doing a lot of stuff in so many ecosystems for things that you're talking about in Yaba and a couple of places, supported by Lagos State government, funded by Facebook and some other companies sometime in the last 1 or 2 years. There are so many things going on in that space that you may get all the things you need abroad right here. And you may even get some little support or funding as well. So please look inward. While if there's opportunity outside too, go ahead and get it.
Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Arutimi, I would like you to take the last question, and then I'll come on board, and then Mr. Yeni will give us a vote of thanks before we bring this meeting to a close.
All right. Thank you very much. The last question is around the prospects of online Forex trading. My sense is I am not an expert in that area, but I recognize that a lot of people have entered into that space. Some of them have told me that it is a very viable space and they have done very well for themselves. What I will ask and what I will always caution is ensure that you build up a deep enough body of knowledge. So don't rush into anything. Do research, ask people, I know there are various entities, local and international, that do the training. So look for credible entities that offer the training. Search their track record. How long have they been doing it? What is their expertise? Because I only like to do things that I have some knowledge about, for yes, people are making money in FX trading. We seem to only hear a lot more about the people making money. So, even if you are going to FX profit, divide the money into two. $5 separate it, only put $5 back in. So at every time you do a cycle, you are protecting your downside risk. If you make $1,000 profit, remove $750 in cash, move it somewhere else, then only invest 250, put 250 back there. And that's how you should always do. Don't get carried away when the day you make 5,000, you put the entire 5,000 back in. So I will always say approach it with caution because it is speculative. So any business or any trading activity that is speculative, it means you can make a lot of money, but potentially can lose a lot of money. So anytime you make money, please convert that paper profit to cash.